The railroad has been essential to the development and identity of the United States, serving as a crucial means of transportation and a symbol of progress. Its historical significance is evident in the westward expansion of the 19th century, particularly with the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, which connected the nation and facilitated the movement of goods and people. This not only boosted economic growth but also fostered cultural exchange, creating a shared American experience. In modern times, the railroad remains vital to the nation's infrastructure. Freight trains transport over 1.7 billion tons of goods annually, providing an efficient and environmentally friendly alternative to road transport. This helps reduce traffic congestion and lower greenhouse gas emissions, aligning with the growing focus on sustainability. Passenger rail services, such as Amtrak, further emphasize the railroad's importance by offering affordable travel options that connect urban and rural communities. This accessibility promotes social equity and allows diverse individuals to engage with different regions of the country. Moreover, the railroad industry supports millions of jobs and drives advancements in technology and engineering. As a critical asset in addressing contemporary transportation challenges, the railroad embodies the spirit of innovation and unity that defines the American experience. Its significance resonates in the lives of all Americans, linking them to their past and shaping their future.
Okay, anyway, I got David Coleman on the line. So, hey, Dave, how you doing?
Doing well, Mike. How you doing tonight? Happy 4th of July.
And happy 4th of July, too. So, anyway, I'm glad you liked the video that I sent a link to you, though, earlier today. So, I got a lot of good praise on that, though, too. So, anyway, I hear when I went over your material a little while ago, though it looked like the first one I was looking at is that derailment in Virginia. How do you want to proceed? You want to do that later?
Yeah, I guess, let's go with like all the CSX stuff. Man, they had a rough week, CSX did. There's a lot of news about CSX coming out. The biggest thing, obviously, was that derailment they had in Philly, and they had a derailment in Virginia. The derailment in Philly might have been more important just because of the big picture. I guess it was right near the SEPTA commuter line, which is obviously a big thing in that area where a lot of commuters, take that parallel line that goes along the Trenton line there that CSX has. And obviously that's a big line for CSX because it's a big part of their line from the northeast of Florida. And then, the Richmond derailment was obviously the grain train that derailed off that bridge. And luckily, there was no one, in that, in a boat or anything in that body of water there underneath that bridge. So, boy, that was insane what happened there. And then, the other thing I heard, too, I've been hearing a lot from some sources at CSX, talked to an engineer that works, in upstate New York and out into Cleveland. They were saying that they'd just been working so much, almost overworked to an extent. And, the other thing I heard was from another source with CSX was out towards Chicago, there's just some big problems. There's not enough crews to move the trains since they've closed this yard called Bar Yard in Chicago. They're running more freights, 3 in each direction, one that goes to CN's Kirk Yard, one that goes to the Indiana Harbor Belt Blue Island Yard, and the other one that goes to the Belt Railway Clearing Yard. And I guess these trains have become so long, Mike. I guess these trains they're coming from Cleveland and Cincinnati, and it just seems like they're running them at lengths that are just insane. And I guess there's a lot of people taking summer vacations as well, and these trains got nowhere to go. So towns like Garrett, Indiana, are seeing, trains tied down on the main. in sidings and yards, you name it, Mike. This has become a problem for CSX, and almost looks like they're in a meltdown right now just because of what's happened. And the Wall Street bean counters have struck again by closing this yard, and obviously it's just become a precision railroad mess like we've seen for the last decade or so. And CSX is in a tailspin, and there's obviously people online that are saying that, boy, what if BNSF bought them? They might be better off. So it's there are a lot of problems going on with CSX.
Oh, and well, at least it wouldn't be union pathetic trying to merge with CSX. I'd rather see BNSF though than the other though. But I don't know. I haven't heard any further news about that merger though with Union Pacific and Norfolk though. Maybe you got a little info on that though. But I hope they can get out of that mess. So I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, basically what I've been hearing about with the merger as of right now, there's nothing really new has been. It seems like they've kind of paused the proceedings right now. They need some more information. I think by the end of the month, they're saying which would push a final. Like, I think if they go through with this, it's not going to be until later in 2027. So obviously there'd be quite a while. They still need to talk about it. I think just looking at that, it probably is. There's going to be so many people from not only railroad industries but other industries outside of the rail industry that work with Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern are going to say, look, this is just too big. This is not the right time to do this. It's obviously you create a coast to coast operation, but if the situations are not, if it doesn't work out, it's just too big of an operation. I think it could really backfire, and there's no doubt that I think there's a lot of concern on a lot of different people just because of what could happen if this conglomerate ever comes together.
Wow. Not sure how to respond to it though, but wow, kind of different, I guess. Anyway, interesting though, at least. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no doubt. It's definitely interesting, and I think Union Pacific too. They've been trying to, put on this attitude, like, hey, we're going to have this big, strong company that goes across the country and really shows that, hey, we're the biggest and the baddest, and we're the premier rail organization. And they've been doing things, Mike. Like, one thing I saw recently, a few weeks ago, obviously the World Cup soccer tournament is in the U.S., and they ran a passenger special from Council Bluffs, Iowa to Long Beach, California a few weeks ago. So obviously this is something that if they want to run something like that, they're trying to prove to the non-railroad people that, hey, we're one of the big companies in this country that really can succeed, and we can color outside the lines per se, and we can be involved with other businesses and other industries and other events. And it's cool that they are running a train like this, but obviously a lot of these people don't realize that that there's a lot of issues with Union Pacific as we've covered over the last several months, and a merger like this can't be taken lightly. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the STB rules on this, because I think they have to understand that, geez, if we rule in favor of this, it's not going to be all this. It's not like you just flip a switch and say, hey, we're merged with them, welcome into our system. Like, there's a lot of integration with computers and routes, and do you move employees around, and how do things really work in the long run will be the big question.
And this is all part because of soccer. Well, I'm not very much fan of soccer at all. To me, it's boring.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a huge soccer fan either. I've watched a little bit of the World Cup, but I'll be honest with you, it is pretty dull. Yeah, no doubt. But it is ironic that Union Pacific would I just wonder, like, if this merger wasn't going on, would they have tried to run a train to this soccer tournament? I don't know. But I do believe that maybe had something to do with it. But, yeah, there's been, the other thing, too, there's been a lot lately because of some of the weather we've had, especially in the middle of the country. There's been some real bad derailments where trains have been blown over by wind. One was in Wyoming. Then there was one over in Oklahoma, Woodward, Oklahoma. This is on the Transcon line that BNSF has. It's a, obviously this is a major main line that the BNSF has between, the West Coast and Chicago. Pretty much all your trains that are important trains run on this line, Mike, and it's super important. And I guess they had a detour a number of different trains, around this on the Union Pacific Golden State route. So obviously, it just goes to show that railroads have become more and more careful with the wind and how dangerous things like that can be. As we've seen, I mean, you remember back in the day at Sandusky Bay when Conrail was around, there were trains that got blown off the bridge into the water. So
I remember that.
yeah. So it's obviously something you have to be careful of. In trains, even if these trains are parked or stopped somewhere, anything like this could definitely happen very easily. So, it just goes to show that these derailments this time of year, being in Tornado Alley, can be a real thing that railroads really have to be careful with and deal with.
Absolutely, though. Something that we mentioned, though. Oh, okay, there's something else different, though. Around here, there's been a lot of slow movement on these rails. I mean, they're running the trains and everything, but, man, with this high heat and everything, though, these rails are buckling.
Yep.
They're getting, like, wavy and everything, and I noticed some buckling, though, the other day when I was, I think I was coming home from my mother's house, though, and I decided I'm going to go to Amber's, so to my favorite hot dog stand. They got the best hot dogs, hot dog heaven, though. But that's another story later, though. But I made my way out toward Vermilion, though, and I was looking at these tracks and through the camera, though, and you can see it in the camera. These things are like wavy all over the place. It's any wonder why they need to slow it down. I mean, that's a good thing, though. Even Wheeling Lake Erie out here, 25-mile-an-hour speed restriction. I think that was the same for all the other railroads, too. So, anyway, a lot of buckling on these rails. Absolutely.
Yeah, that could definitely be the cause of these derailments, too.
Absolutely.
The rail, you get a broken rail pretty easily this time of year. We see that happen a lot in the winter with the extreme cold and the snow, but definitely this time of year we can see it as well with the heat. I think they call them sun kinks. So that could definitely happen. There's no doubt that the guys who are in the track patrols in those trucks out there, they're getting a lot of mileage this time of year, and you don't hear them as much on your scanner because a lot of that permission is done by phone now. They do that by phone or they do that electronically. So you don't hear that. You might hear them maybe make a mention of where they're at, but you don't hear the dispatcher talking to them as much anymore because it's done electronically. So yeah, that's no doubt that you have to be careful with that. I know that that derailment that happened down in Tennessee on the old rat hole line, CNO and TP, that's obviously a major Norfolk Southern line between Cincinnati and Atlanta. Where they run a lot of trains down there through Tennessee and Kentucky. They had a real bad derailment. That derailment happened a few weeks ago, and I think they had to detour trains. Gosh, I want to say they were detouring trains all over the East Coast. Like some went down the CN line to Memphis, and then some were detouring so far out of the way they were going up to like Horseshoe Curve and running that way. So, and I guess this was kind of in a rural area down in Tennessee. So the derailment, was kind of hard to get to. Took several days to clean up, from what I understood.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. Oh, wow. Hey, I was going to ask you, did you see my episode, Monroe, Michigan bus, though, on the very first episode, one called Duck and Cover?
I did, yeah, I sure did. Yeah, I did.
What was that woman thinking, though? I mean, that gate was just probably less than a foot from crashing on the car, and she was ducking while she was driving. I couldn't believe I was able to catch that on the cameras. I knew she was going to run the cross, and I did turn and film it, though, but I didn't see her at first ducking, though. And my friend Steve, we call him Graffiti Reader Steve. Sometimes I refer him as Steve Wilkos. He's got that bald head. He looks like Steve Wilkos very much. Anyway, he told me about it. I said, no, I didn't see it initially, though. Then when I ran the footage back through between trains, oh yeah, she was ducking and cover, so that's why I pulled that shot out of the video, though. Her ducking, did pretty good. But I had to mention that one.
Yeah, that woman, that was something, that woman doing that. It'd definitely be interesting to see, what else you saw there on that trip, because I know the spots you hit there between Toledo and Sandusky are some great spots.
Oh, yeah.
On the Chicago line to watch them at. Monroe, Michigan, I've never been there to rail fan, but I've heard it's kind of a tricky spot to rail fan from what people told me.
Well, yes, I would say. I mean, access to where all the three lines of CN and Norfolk and CSX, I had no problem getting to that access, but man, it was almost a bust. The only thing that came through Monroe was a CN, and it was a junky-looking manifest.
Wow.
Which will be in episode 3 tomorrow, though, and I haven't even got a post up, though, what's coming, though. I don't know if I'll have time, but anyway, it'll be out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., so that was the only one to see. And got a couple on the way up there around Erie and I can't think. LaSalle, I think. LaSalle
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yep, I know. Yep, just north of Toledo, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually got 3. 2 CSX, Norfolk, though, which had a B&S up unit on that train. Then and the CN, the junky CN, I see Parker, CSX Ohio Rail fans trying to call me, so he's going to have to be placed on hold for a while. No, I have to call him back.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, but that's an interesting spot. I've never really gone up there that much, but I know that that's a spot that obviously Detroit at one time was huge with the auto industry, and those lines. I know that when the Norfolk Southern line was Conrail back in the day, that was a really critical line for Conrail, because they had a lot of auto parts and stuff that would go to all these different yards in Detroit, and that's not what it used to be. I'll just say that.
I'd say. I'd say. All right, well, we probably got lots of stuff to unload here, so we're about a little over 17 minutes in, so bring up the next thing.
Yeah. So, interesting post a couple weeks ago on train orders. I'll just go off. This is not really a news story, but it's more of a post. Like, it's a guy talking about how come, like, where's all the traffic gone? Like, with Norfolk Southern, he was saying. And, he's saying, like, oh, this was like, how did all this disappear from Conrail days? And then, you got some guys posting response saying, like, a lot of it's gone to trucks. And then, people are saying, like, what's happened is the trains have become so long that these intermodal terminals and some of these yards, they just can't unload the cars that quickly anymore, because it used to be a priority to get these trains there on time, and more of these trains are being operated as like long, 2.5 mile land barges, really, and that's the thing. And you know, like one of the posters, I think the guy's name is Mike Derrick. He made a great point. He said to this guy, he goes, look, you see these trains as fun entertainment, but when you rely on them to deliver products, or worse yet, you know, work where they're supposed to go to on a certain schedule, a certain time, you know, it's anything but a reliable business. So it's interesting to see how, like, more and more people have picked up on this, and I think these businesses have too. And I think it just seems like the business is really not wanted by these railroads, sadly. And then even one guy even comes in with a conspiracy theory that NS is trying to take a dive so bad that the Union Pacific takeover will look necessary. So it's almost like we've seen this in professional sports, Mike, where a team, you know, tanks at the end of the season to get the highest draft pick. So, I mean, is that what they're doing? I certainly hope not. You know, but hey, look, all these conspiracy theories are out there, and you never really know with you know, who's running these railroads. And you know, like, we've seen some pretty bizarre things around here too lately. I mean, I know that some of these trains are running incredibly late. It seems like the intermodal trains, 22X was recrewing one day at Rockport Yard. Just stuff that, you know, who knows, man? I mean, who knows who's really running this? Is this, if UP is, you know, really in on this, are they telling NS what to do? You just never know. So it's
go to wonder.
Debate here.
No, yeah, 22X came through the day I was around Vermilion that day. So, yep, I caught him just a couple days ago. He's like, I don't know, he seems to be about on time every day when I'm out around that time, though, usually within a couple hour time frame somewhere, though. He seems to be pretty consistent every day. So the others, not so much.
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, yep, that's definitely for sure. I mean, most of those other trains, yeah, I mean, they, it's hard to say. I mean, like the other day, there were two intermodals that were several hours late when I was in Macedonia. They, I mean, they took quite a while too to go from Macedonia to Horseshoe Curve. From when I was looking at the PT 242 website. So yeah, it just shows that, I mean, like, yes, as rail fans, we see this stuff as fun, but the fact that they are running, you know, that slowly with some of these trains, you know, you have to wonder, like, what does, like, UPS or Amazon really think? You know, are they, like, just disgusted with it, and they're just saying, well, just tack it all on one train, and, you know, at the end of the day, like, we're not really interested in, like, providing, you know, a crazy amount of business because how bad the business is.
Wow. Hope it gets better for him. It might get better, though, since good old President Trump, not too many would say good old Trump, but he's trying to do something about the fuel prices. Definitely. He is clamping down on the oil companies, which I'm going to be talking about in the next turn anyway, though. But he's demanding they lower the prices down around $2.50 a gallon. Now, diesel is probably going to be another buck's worth, though. That's better than over $6 a gallon. Then again, who knows? Maybe the railroads ain't even paying near that price.
Yeah, good question. I honestly don't know what they're paying, but yeah, when the prices have to keep coming down because it's the only way it's going to be, you know, for people in any walk of life. That's the only way it's going to be reasonable, you know, to live and to, you know, run a business. But another story here. The city of Boca Raton, Florida, has received $2 million in federal funding to create a new public grade crossing northeast Boca Raton. And they're doing this. I guess, you know, the big part of this is they're trying to improve, you know, capital improvements with this area because this is the Brightline route between Miami and Orlando, and obviously this is a freight route as well with the Florida East Coast. And we all know the Florida East Coast line doesn't run too far from the ocean, so it's very flat. You know, you don't have too many overpasses and underpasses on this line. So, hey, they feel like it's important to upgrade these grade crossings along this route. And I think in a city like Boca Raton, where probably a lot of people are moving, you need to have effective working gates that are really like almost like what you see in Europe, like where nobody can get around. Nobody can get around the gates. You've got to be down there with the speed those passenger trains are running, and then the thing is, it's a double track line. So you could get another passenger train coming right afterwards. You could have a freight coming. So you got to be pretty careful, down there when you're by the tracks, because it's not like it used to be where it's just FEC and freight's running in the middle of the night. It's definitely more and more trains during the day, and it's something you got to be very careful of.
I'd say absolutely. Oh, let's see, we're about going into 24 minutes here. I'm going by record time tonight because that's when I actually started with you. So the net time on my transmission shows a little different. So now I just flipped over 24 on the actual record clock. Okay, moving on here.
Yep. So right now I've got a story with I guess the province of Ontario is investing 2.8 million Canadian through the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation for infrastructure upgrades at the Port of Thunder Bay and the Peninsula Harbor Port Authority in the town of Marathon. They're very important towns for expanding east-west trade in Canada, strengthening domestic supply chains, and creating good-paying jobs in the north, while reducing reliance on U.S. customers. I guess strategically located the furthest inland port in Canada, this premier intermodal facility is a vital supply chain linking northern Ontario and western Canada, said Chris Heikkinen, the CEO of the Port of Thunder Bay. I do know a couple of people that live in Thunder Bay, one that currently works for the railroad, and then another that used to work for the railroad. And they talk a lot about how this area is really important. The shipping there is vital because, they're in an area where they're kind of like, the article says, they're like kind of on the western end of the Great Lakes, the northwestern end. So they get a lot of grain and potash and different stuff that gets shipped throughout the Great Lakes and maybe into the St. Lawrence Seaway, and they get shipped in and out off of trains there with CPKC. So there's no doubt that this is big. I mean, to be doing this, I guess over 10.7 million metric tons of cargo moved through Thunder Bay last year. So that's a great sign that they're upgrading this. And a town like Thunder Bay is not a huge city. It's not Toronto or Vancouver or even Calgary or Edmonton. But, boy, it's huge for a town like this to have, a commitment like this.
Interesting. I don't know if I've been to Thunder Bay or not. I've been close there before years ago, but I don't think I've ever been through there. Or maybe I don't know. I don't remember. Then if I did, I was probably young though, when the parents go every year up there, the fishing trips up there by the Manitoula Islands area. So anyway, okay, moving along, I guess.
Yeah, beautiful part of the world.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yep. Let's see. South Carolina ports consolidating container operations amid trade uncertainty. This came out last week. They announced short-term plans to consolidate the container operations at its Wando and North Charleston terminals and pause operations at the Leatherman terminal effective August 1st. All three terminals are located at the Port of Charleston. By consolidating the two terminals, the South Carolina ports will be able to focus on cost competitiveness, retaining current business, and attracting new customers for long-term growth. Let's see. Norfolk Southern CSX both serve the Port of Charleston. And obviously this is a port that I think for NS, I want to say they've run trains over the years on a line that is, I want to say it's not really like a huge line into Charleston. It might not be signaled. They use track warrants, I think, on that line. And the thing is like they run trains. I think they've had a lot of automobiles and stuff that get shipped overseas. So that's an important thing for NS. And CSX, obviously, that's on their main line from Florida to the Northeast. So they are very willing to, try to ship things in and out of there because it's, probably not as congested as other ports. So definitely Charleston is an area that I think definitely you can strike while the iron is hot. And I think it's definitely for both these railroads to have, good contracts with these ports. I think it does a lot for that area because Charleston's kind of looked at as a tourist area. And if you got, the infrastructure to really grow this and the logistics for it, boy, oh boy, I think this could be a little hidden gem down there in the South and the Low Country.
I'd say. Interesting. Wow. Okay, you had 29:15. You have a lot of more material to go?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. The other thing, too, was there was I guess a positive story for CSX before all these derailments happened and all this news came out about the trains not having enough crews, was they did have a ceremonial first train that went through the Howard Street Tunnel in Baltimore. So
okay, I looked at that. I remember now.
Yeah, that's a big thing that happened. Obviously it was more than $466 million in investment. So obviously that's a big thing. Double stack container trains now are officially running through there. That's a great story for them. And I think again too, it was a bottleneck for so many years, Mike, because it obviously it was a major issue for CSX between the Northeast and Florida, and this took 4 years or so to pull off. The CEO obviously says it creates or it unlocks critical connections, and I think there's no doubt it definitely is something that was long overdue for CSX. But we're going to see how this, how much does this really grow the business for them? Obviously the CEO, this guy has come in, and I think there was a lot of criticism with him. Are they going to be able to capitalize on this? Is the big question now. And Baltimore is another one of those terminals where they took some traffic away from NS there on some of those trains that go to Chicago. So let's see if they got what they what it really takes to make this tunnel enlargement worth its investment, because you don't spend almost $500 million in 4 years plus making this work to maybe run just a little bit of extra traffic. This has got to really be a big thing for CSX to prove that we can compete with the trucks on 95, and most of all we're serious about north-south rail infrastructure, and a lot of times that was kind of ignored. So let's hope that CSX can really make this worth its while and say get the most out of this investment.
Wow. Excellent. Let's see. NorCal Mike said something here. I watched a video of someone changing the oil in an old locomotive, 450 gallons of the stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, he's out there listening, gentleman out in California, so he's listening with us too, though. Thanks for the comment, though, NorCal Mike. Sorry about I mispronounced the name earlier, though. We got it right this time. Anyway, okay, Dave, 32 and 43 coming up.
Yeah, how about if you get a couple more minutes or what?
Yeah, we're good for a little bit here.
Yeah, I guess probably we talked about BNSF earlier tonight, and I think of all the Class 1s, they're probably the strongest one. There's a report out that they are recognizing shippers for safe hazmat transportation. They recognize nearly 100 or 103 shippers with the company's annual Product Stewardship Award for safe transportation of hazardous material by rail. Since 1997, the annual award has recognized shippers who transport a minimum of 500 loaded hazmat tank cars in the previous year with 0 non-accident releases. The shippers upheld the ethics of product stewardship. And basically, Chad Sundem for BNSF, the Vice President of Safety, sums it up. Safety isn't just a priority at BNSF, it's a foundation in which we build upon for defining success. So it says a lot there. That's a really good quote there. Obviously they're trying to partner up with companies that they understand, hey, to get the stuff from point A to point B, it's got to be done safely. I guess there's a full list of the honorees here in this year. So obviously, congratulations to all of them. Everyone from Chevron all the way down to some company called Westlake Chemical. So everyone's anyone who shipped by tank car with BNSF has done really well. It sounds like, and obviously NS probably wouldn't qualify for this, and we're finding out CSX probably wouldn't either with the stuff they've gone through. And so it's good to see that BNSF obviously did really well with this. Let's hope that they continue obviously with all the oil and the ethanol they have running, like in North Dakota and down to the Gulf of America or Mexico, whatever you want to call it. They're doing really well. So BNSF deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, they take this seriously, and I think that says a lot about their brand being involved with Berkshire Hathaway.
Wow, that's something. It is. Okay, we're at 35, 36. Got a couple more. If we got a couple more, we can do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, freight rail traffic rose 7% in week 24.
Really?
This is a couple weeks ago. Up 7.1% compared to the same week in 2025, according to the Association of American Railroads. Yeah, I mean, I think, seeing this story, they said that there was a decrease with coal that was down a little bit, but I guess Canadian carloads were up. Mexican railroad, Mexican was down a little bit for Mexican railroads, but intermodal units were up 24%. It sounds like intermodal units for the year up 3.1. Canadian intermodal and regular carload is up 0.6. Mexican railroads carloads and intermodal is up 8%. So that's saying that there's big picture. All three countries, that there's more freight moving. I don't know, what to attribute it to. Maybe it's just people. Maybe it's not as doom and gloom as what some of these people say. But I'll say this: I've seen more and more Amazon containers out there.
Oh, geez.
You've probably seen those on some of the trains
all the time.
Yep. So there's no doubt that this is a big part of that's a big part of our shipping nowadays. And I know that Amazon, where a lot of it comes from, is not from the U.S., but the railroads, got to take advantage of that business because that's everybody uses Amazon nowadays.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter what it's for. So obviously the railroads got to get a bite of that apple a little bit. But I think too the Mexican railroads. We've talked a lot about how the interchange, with UP and the CPKC, BNSF down there, like in Laredo and Eagle Pass. There's been a lot of upgrades to the infrastructure down there. Especially this CPKC. Trains Magazine did an article last couple of years on the line called, I think it's called the Macaroni Line.
What? Did you say macaroni?
Yeah, I think that's what they call it. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's down. I don't know why they called that. I honestly don't know, but it was like I think it was a line that they just never had much investment in, and KCS went all in on it. KCS, kind of a maverick railroad. Obviously, they merged with CP, but this was one of their lines that went down to Mexico. I think it went down through like Victoria, Texas, I want to say, and they, were all in on this, and they kind of said, "Hey, we're gonna make that a big part of our, railroad down there, and we're gonna run a lot more trains through there." So. And they did that with that route through Mississippi that was the Mid-South, where it was kind of a sleepy branch line, maybe something that was not even as busy as the Wheeling and Lake Erie, and then they run intermodal trains on that line, that are really important, critical trains. So, it's sometimes one man's trash is another man's treasure. So that's... I think how CPKC and KCS before operated, and that Conrail kind of had the same mentality back in the day when they obviously yanked a lot of the trains off the Northeast Corridor and put them on the Lehigh Valley line and the Reading line, and kind of upgraded those lines and said, hey, we better off running trains that way, and that was how they interchanged with CSX and NS back in the day. Versus keeping them on that Northeast Corridor, and they pulled them out of the line where they couldn't really run as much as they wanted to. So sometimes you gotta turn chicken into chicken salad, and I think that's what some of these railroads have done in some of these areas, and it's credit to them that they've done well like this, because I think that hey, it's not all about just trains running from Chicago to New York City or from LA to Chicago, and it's a long distance intermodal. It's about capturing those areas where no one thinks you can get the business, and then you ultimately do get the business. That's where you got to be. Nowadays, I think the railroads have got to do a better job of that. And I'll give KCS credit that they did do a lot of that before the merger. So we'll see what happens with that.
Absolutely.
With Mexico going forward.
Okay, well, we're at 4106. So anyway, macaroni line. Don't give Santa Fe ideas; they'll create the rice-a-roni line. Anyway, I guess that'll be about it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I will. I'll send you those pictures of the new engine that Norfolk Southern has. That I think the guy's name is Dave Williams. There on Dave Williams is the guy on Train Orders. Took a picture of that tonight at the Juni Auto Shop. So I'll send that over to you. Hopefully, we'll be seeing that engine go through there soon. And it's gray, and it's got like the American flag on it. So looking forward to seeing that.
Absolutely. All right, well, Dave, thanks for being on here again. And I guess from what I understand, the first would be, well, on August 1st, but you have a date on it, so we're going to delay it to August 8th.
Yep, August 8th is good, man. I'll look forward to talking to you next month, and I'll be in touch with you in the meantime. Hopefully, I'm pretty busy right now, but I've been rail fan a little bit here and there. But I've been enjoying your videos, and are you going to go catch the big boy when it comes back?
Absolutely.
Nice, nice.
All right, Dave. I guess I'll conclude it, though. Anyway, thanks for being with us, so I appreciate it.
Sounds good, Mike. You have a good night.
You too. Okay, that was David Coleman somewhere in Stow, Ohio, so bringing us the news on the railroad infrastructure. That concludes another edition of Railroad Talk.